looks like this. I wake up in the morning, I go to bed at night going, I wished I hadn't had that one extra glass of wine because now I wonder what my sleep is going to be like. Oh, well, it'll be okay. Tomorrow's a new day. I wake up. Yeah. My brain is saying, I got this today. I can't wait. I'm going to get my exercise in. I actually do. Oh, evidence is there. I boogied for a little bit. I moved my booty. I got my heart rate up. Oh my gosh. Okay. I can do what I say I'm going to do. So I start to feel good. I go through my day. For me in isolation, like you, I've had work to do. So I maybe go through that. Then come around 3:00. What plays out in my mind is, I've had such a good day. I deserve a glass of wine. I now know I deserve that glass of wine. I can't wait till we get to 4 or 5 o'clock and Roger's going to come out of his isolation office and we're going to have a way to connect and socializing and feel grown up, because I know that this came from when my kids were younger. My drinking actually came from when my kids were younger. This was my grown-up activity. Now my kids are older and I don't have that, but this is how my mind works. Like, yeah, and then come 5 o'clock, I get to be with a grown-up and be like a grown-up and do something the kids can't do. That's literally what goes on in my mind. So if you're asking me what is really going on, and then comes in coaching Kirsten going, well, wait a minute, let's notice this. Notice that you really feel better when you sleep. Screw it. That's just the inner toddler in me going, forget that. We deserve pleasure. Now, what I want to notice is that one of the things that I do tend to believe in life too is that I think being human allows us to have a human experience through our senses. And sometimes that is having an experience of the rich taste of combining food and drinks. And that's a wonderful thing. And I'm making that choice.
Totally.
And what I'm noticing in isolation is that it's not just a one delicious experience. It becomes a string of many experiences that are now a habit that I have lost some flexibility.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that out loud about what really happens literally from the night until the morning and the progression through the day, and then having the drink and enjoying that drink and then thinking, maybe it'll be better with a second drink or not. Fortunately for me, in isolation, I haven't had urges to have lots of drinks on a nightly basis. So that's often just been the one, maybe 2 drinks. And I have been very fortunate. And saying that to you, I don't mean to suggest that there's anybody listening should judge themselves, because I know that I've been in different stages and sometimes I've just wanted to numb out and forget, and I've made that choice, and I understand.
Totally. I love everything that you just shared there, because I think it's so relevant. It's so honest and true of what I hear, like what I go through, what I hear my clients going through, what I hear, like what I see on social media. I think everyone's kind of in that same boat. And I love what you said about not judging yourself, because why would you? Like, that's not going to help. If you go to bed, telling yourself, like, why did you do that? I wish you didn't do that. Like, you're so stupid. You knew that was a bad choice. Why did you do it again? And you beat yourself up with it. Like, it's really not going to help.
Yeah, you know what? As you say that to me, because I'll let you be that voice in my head, what I notice happens, Kate, when you talk like that, I can feel my inner toddler getting more fierce, because I think that's my nature. I'm going to try and prove you wrong. I actually can do this. Because you know how kids say that all the time? Kids are always like, yeah, I can do it. And I can do it better than you. And of course,
I do it myself.
Yeah, I got it all myself. And you don't need to tell me my bedtime, because I know my bedtime and I can make myself go to bed. And you can go in there 2 hours later and they're having a party. They'd never put themselves to bed.
Yeah.
And that's what I notice happens when even a story starts to play out and I don't even know it. Like when you said that to me, I heard it as if you were in my head, and I start to actually fire up my inner toddler. My inner child is like, I'm going to show you, I really can do this on my own.
Yeah. So, like, let's take it a step further, because your inner toddler does yell all this. It yells criticism at you. And then when you start to suggest, like, well, your adult brain comes online and says, well, maybe tomorrow we don't have a drink. And then your inner toddler really starts saying, what are you talking about? Like, I can have a drink if I want a drink.
Exactly.
Well, I can have some chocolate. I deserve a bowl of ice cream. Like, I want those chips and I'm going to eat them, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh my God. We have had everybody in our house has a packet of potato chips with their name on them so that we can't go eat the other one's chips because we've become crazy in isolation. We've eaten more potato chips in our family in isolation. You have named the dark secret of the Bridge family. We have become potato chip freaks.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So, okay, so that's what your brain does. Like it goes from criticism to justification, like, and it fires up, like you said, which I think is just so fascinating. So what I love to help people do is to bring curiosity to that. And curiosity is acceptance and mindfulness. Like this drops you into the moment. So you don't try and shut that voice up because you can't. You literally cannot stop that voice.
Yeah.
And trying to stop it, trying to stop the criticism or trying to stop the justification makes it louder. It's resistance. And what you resist persists.
Right. Exactly. And that's where we know that as coaches, right? So we can try that on.
Yeah.
So accepting that the noise is there. And just almost for me, I'll tell you what does work for me. And I actually was just talking about this in a different context with somebody last night, is I actually put my arm around that inner toddler, or maybe say, let's go play and do something a little different to stop loggerheads, like what you're saying. To stop engaging in the battle is to put my arm around that's part of me that thinks this is the only way, and let's just do a little playfulness.
Yeah, so that's a great, like if you imagine, like my kind of, the people I generally work with are mothers, and they've got experience with young children standing in the kitchen, stomping their feet, saying, I want a lolly. And we know that they can yell all day long, and we still have the control over whether they get that lolly or not. And we can, for them it feels like life or death. And we know that yelling back at them makes it worse. But like you said, putting your arm around them, giving them a hug, or just letting them ride it out is what helps.
Yeah.
But often, like, putting your arm around your inner toddler brain it can feel really difficult. So to do that, sometimes like that curiosity, like, okay, what is my brain saying? She's saying, I want it. How come I can't have it? I can do whatever I want. And just like what you said before at the beginning of the conversation, noticing it, like, isn't that interesting that she thinks that she can do whatever she wants and that will make my life better? It's an interesting point of view. Like, you're not trying to make her wrong or judge her or say she's an idiot and she doesn't know what she's talking about. And sometimes it can just be helpful to write her down on a piece of paper and just notice all the things that she's telling you without judgment, without trying to take her down.
Right.
And that can just be a way, like you said, like if people are looking for like, well, what does that mean to put my arm around my inner toddler and let's go play? Like, that's how I would do it. Like, what is, when you say like bring some playfulness to it, what does that look like for you?
Okay, so one thing is very helpful is definitely when I write it down and I take it out of my head and I put it in the material realm and then I see all the thoughts I'm having is similar to the effect that I just accidentally had with you, where you were saying all those things and it was like I noticed my reaction to it. Like I can just suddenly see, oh my gosh, listen to that. I look at those things.
Yeah.
But when I talk about actually, and I'm glad you asked this, and I talk about putting my arm around her, taking her hand and saying, let's go play somewhere else for a little bit, it's a visualization. I am a kinesthetic person, and if I imagine something, it's kind of like going to the movies. When I'm at the movies, I'm having a physical response. I'm clenched, I'm hanging on the edge of my seat in suspense. My brain is totally in the movie. So what I will do is I can actually, for a moment, if I'm seeing that this is like a young child speaking, and I know that's me, and I know I'm responsible for how she feels in the morning too, this woman and how she feels in the morning, not just how she feels now. I have compassion for that toddler. If she needs to have her tantrum, let her have it. To say, I'm here with you. And I literally imagine a younger me and me in a visualization. I actually literally imagine Kirsten wearing this adult shirt with a younger me and going, hey, I hear ya. Yeah. And just really listening. And then I say, I might even have a dialogue with her, or I actually might put my arm around her, or, hey, Sarah. I see Sarah's on here with Joan. So I haven't named my inner toddler, but that's what she is. And I might put my arm around her. I might just see if there's anything else that she wants to do, and I don't necessarily have the agenda. But that's the immediate sense is that, and I'm going to reveal something that I've just discovered. I've had an aha in this, is that I, as a little girl, I remember I'm so feisty. I'm a feisty fighter, and I'm only getting this more before I even hit 50. Thank God I'm getting it. But my passion is so strong that I wouldn't want to be my own mom. But I realized that I made a vow. I can see the room I was in. So I must have been 4 or 5 years old or younger. I made a vow that when I am older, I'm going to let myself do it my way. So
Yeah.
I remember being like, you're not going to let me stay up, or you're not going to let me have this. And I remember saying, and I'm an adult and I'm like you, Mom. And I remember imagining when I'm her age, I'm going to let me do this.
Interesting.
Which is more than we probably have time for in this call. And it does reveal that some of these things are not just noticing. They're these vows we made to ourselves when we were young. And I made a vow to myself that I hear now. It's not hid. I've always heard it, but I only see it now that you and I were talking. That there's a vow that I will give myself that. So it's also making peace with that and being like, now I am a mom and I know what it's like. And in the moment, this is great. And I also know in the morning, I want to feel alive and I want to feel clear-headed and I want to have more energy. And we're doing it in the name of having more energy and longer days of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Amen to everything you just said, because it's so true. Like, there's so many layers to this. It's not just like, oh, you are a sad, depressed, lonely person, so you want to eat or drink. Like, you can be a totally happy, fulfilled, wonderful person, and
enjoy your eating and drinking. Honestly, you can't. Yeah.
Like, it's not anything about you and where you're at in your life. Like, there's so many habits and patterns and triggers and vows that you've made to yourself and just perspectives that we hold. And I think perspective is really interesting because, sorry, there's a fly. Perspective is really interesting because Judd Brewer talks about enchantment, like the stories that we tell ourselves around food or alcohol or other addictive substances. And often, like, for me, I'm similar to you, like, it's an adult thing. Like, coffee for me, it's the cool club. Like, if I'm drinking coffee, I'm an adult, I'm sophisticated, it's something a little bit more expensive. It's like my time. Don't touch me while I'm drinking my coffee. Like, just leave mama alone. And I might have, like, if I'm feeling like I'm having a really shit day, it's a way to bring me up. So there's all these sorts of stories that I tell myself around coffee. But the reality is, after one, the next one doesn't taste as good. And the one after that tastes even worse. And, so it's quite interesting.
But we keep chasing it.
I keep telling myself
chasing it.
Story, like, but just have another one. Maybe the next one will be better. Maybe the next one will hit the spot. And I think I'm just going to have to say this because it's so good. I've also heard, I'm sure you've heard about the hungry ghost.
Say more.
So the hungry ghost, and this is Judd Brewer, I got it from him as well. The idea is like, you imagine like a ghost with a really, 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 really long esophagus. So anytime the ghost eats anything, it takes a long time to get down to the stomach. And so the ghost is never full. So it's constantly hungry. And so for us, oftentimes we can feel this hungry ghost within us, like, oh, like, how can I had a glass of wine, but now I need another glass of wine. I had a piece of chocolate, but now I need another piece of chocolate because it just didn't get there. I'm not full. I haven't got that feeling yet. And so, I don't know. I really resonate with that of feeling like I need more. And more actually doesn't make me feel better, but that feeling of wanting more is there.
Yeah. I'm noticing that right now that you and I have gone over time from what we promised ourselves. And I also noticed that I got a lot of value out of saying it out loud. And I hope that anybody that watches this in the future gets value out of just us being really open about our story that plays out in our head. It's helped me to get it out of my head, and it really does help to get it out, maybe lay it down on paper and notice, and to have some compassion. Because actually what I'm noticing is that I'm laughing at how our stories are similar but different, and that is this whole thing about we're chasing something, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to chase, and then sometimes what I think the thing I want to finish on is noticing what it is we do want to expand more of. So for me to get through it is, okay, in the immediate sense, it's this quick sense of feeling grown up from drinking my coffee and looking whatever and feeling like I used to feel maybe when I was 21, but I don't feel that way now. But in any way, maybe it can bring me back to being 21. And it's this elusive game, and noticing that it's a game and just saying it out loud helps me see it's a game. And that's okay. Sometimes I'm just going to indulge myself and have fun with it. And also the way through this for me is, and when we put our coaching hat on, you and I know these coaching skills, is also noticing the feeling of what it is we're craving more of. And that would be for me, this feeling of aliveness and vitality in the morning and a long lasting energy in the day. And that is that clear-headedness and everything comes from some choices I make about what I eat. And having great intention with what I eat. You know, like sometimes when I've made a feast in isolation, it's because we're making it a little bit more fun as a family. And so we're putting a lot of ritual and celebration around this and having more fun eating. And that's a wonderful way to do it too. It's just that we're not necessarily doing it all the time because I don't feel that that's sustainable for my health.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that that's what I'm noticing out of this lockdown period is that wanting that extra energy through the day, like, because we're slowing down. Like, I mean, not last night. We got hooked on a Netflix program last night. I've got to say, we were 3 episodes in, and my husband's like, "Should we go to number 4?" And it's like, "Hey, it's 11:30. We've got to get to bed." So, you know, like I can definitely get into that cycle, as everyone can, and that's okay. Like I don't need to beat myself with a stick about that. But what feels better is, for me, going to bed at like 9:30, like 10 o'clock is brilliant. And getting up early before everybody else, like if I get up at 5, I'm golden. Like that's so good. But I need to get that early night in. Like I can't get up at 5 when it's 11:30 at night. And so, I just love that, you know, noticing what would feel better. Like you can have all the wine or chocolate or cake you want, but what would actually feel better? Like what are the real rewards that you're getting out of that? And what are the rewards that you really want?
Yeah. And having, as we finish, I just want to notice too, it's having these conversations. 100%. It's so much easier when it's not just me knocking around in my own head. And in my story, it's hard to separate and have a breathing space and just saying it out loud with you or anybody having a conversation. It's just enough breathing space to see ourselves and remember that which we are craving more of.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's finish there. Like what, and we can ask that to anyone who's watching or comes back to watch this, like, what are you craving more of? Like you said, longer sustained energy. Is there anything else you'd add to that, or is that enough said?
It's something about the energy being open and creative for me. So when I am drained, I don't have that creative thinking and my body can't seem to align with my wishes. So it's something it's like you say, and it's also having this openness and this creative responsiveness that I can have when I have moved my body in a day. I've had good sleep. I've eaten, you know, and I'm becoming, this isolation reminds me too, it's also having connection. It's absolutely vital for me to connect with others and especially other women and talk like this. So this is so beautiful. Thank you for playing with me in my sandbox, Kate, today.
Yay. I love it. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, because I've got so many questions I want to ask you about all the work you do with women and nature and cycles and all of that, because, you know, I've got a real passion and interest in that as well. And I think you've got a lot to share that's could really help through this time. So let's do this again.
Let's do it again. Let's make it fun and play in the sandbox and have others come. And anybody that's listening to this at the end, obviously you know how to get to my page because you're on it watching this. Just remember that Kate, you can find her on her Facebook group, Weight Loss Club for Mamas, or you can just tag her in here and you'll find your way through to her. But we would love to hear from anybody if any of this resonates with you or there's some other story in your head that we can all listen to and all have a good, lighthearted laugh with you at the stories we tell ourselves. We're really delighted and happy to listen.
Yay! I would love to hear these stories because there's so many.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming, Kate.
See you later.
Bye.